Professor Joyati Bhattacharya madam. Joyati madam will be joined after some time due to an emergency meeting with the Vice Chancellor sir. So she will be attend this session later. Respected our learned panelist, Professor Manish sir, Professor Indrajit Singh Sodhi sir, Dr. Pradeep Chattopadhyay sir, Dr. Sudhir Kumar Verma sir. First, I would like to express my great gratitude to both editors of this book, Professor Santesh Kumar Singh sir and Professor Sri Prakash Singh sir, for providing this book discussion opportunity to the Indian Research Scholars Association. The book Non-Traditional Security Concern in India Issues and Challenges reflected new dimensions regarding various kinds of the non-traditional security. When I have received this rich academic volume for the book review writing, after some time, I have requested to Santesh sir that sir we want to conduct this book discussion of your book on the behalf of the Indian Research Scholars Association. Finally, sir has accepted our request. So I would like to welcome both editors this book on behalf of me and on the behalf of the Indian Research Scholars Association. As we all know that India is facing many challenges regarding neighborhood policy and non-traditional security concern. But there are also possibilities. Our leaders, diplomats, and intellectuals are working toward this specific direction. Here I want to quote few lines from the research paper Major Post-Cold War Trends in India Neighborhoods, which was written by Professor Chintamani Mahapatra sir. Sir is also chief guest of our session in 1999 when India became independence. Its first prime minister.
There is an audio problem. You are muted because Ji, you are muted.
Yes, sir. Now my voice is clear, sir. Hello. Hello. Now my voice is clear, sir. Hello.
Because Ji, you may have to unmute yourself.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Uh, because there is some network issue, sir. 1 minute. Okay, sorry. Sir, interruption. So I want to quote also the few lines of the research paper, which is written by Professor Chintamani Mahapatra, sir. When India became independence, its first Prime Minister Pandit Nehru was not only knowledgeable about the world politics, but also aware of the certain global events that has a direct, indirect bearing on the India's security. Indian foreign policy under his stewardship had a global dimension. So this book has also been edited by the two intellectuals. The book focuses on the non-traditional security such as human security, energy security, food security, human trafficking, biological and chemical weapons. All the non-traditional security issues are also highly relevant for academics world and the policymakers. So because my job is limited, I will not take much and more time. I congratulate again to the both editor of this volume, and I would like to welcome all the participants and all the panelists, including our chief guest, chair, co-chair of this session. some teachers and professors has joined from the various universities and the colleges. Here I can see on the screen respected Professor Saroj Kumar Barma sir has Saroj Kumar Barma sir is present time Dean Faculty of the Social Science Chhapra University Bihar has joined this session. So I would like to welcome. So on the behalf of the me and also those participants those have joined from the offline mode. So on the behalf of the me and on the behalf of the Indian Research Scholars Association, I welcome to all of you. And for the further proceeding, I request to Dr. K. Jayaprasad sir. Sir, you are welcome and proceed the session according to schedule. Thank you so much.
Namaste, good evening. Respected Chintamani Mahapatra sir, my friend Indrajit Singh Sodi, Professor Manish, Professor Chattopadhyaya, Pradeep Chattopadhyaya, Dr. Sudhir Singh Verma, Jyoti Bhattacharya, Vikas Kumar, and dear panelists and dear participants. I am happy to be here as to participate this program organized by the Indian Research Scholars Association. It is a good initiative from the side of the research scholars that it's a discussion on a book, particularly on an area which is much concerned to the contemporary society of India. Because we are aware of the traditional concern. The book edited by two great scholars, Sandesh Singh and Professor Sriprakash Singh. And I know their background and I have a very good relation with both of them and their concerns also. And also this is a good initiative, and also the book cover the most of the non-traditional issues facing the country. And India is a country, you know, that in the within 24 years of India's independence, we faced 3 wars. Actually, we faced 4 wars, 1 limited and 3 open war with our neighbors. It is not our invasion, they invaded us. And in 1947, 48 and 62, 65 and 71. Later, also in 98 again, we faced Kargil. So that the country faced a large number of issues, the security issues related with our neighborhood, and still we are facing the same problem. And our borders were not yet finalized. And maybe India is an exception among the member countries of UNO, having not finalized its borders, especially with Pakistan and China. And we have a LOC and LAC and not the international border. But the discussion of this book is basically related with the non-traditional actors. And major issues were covered in the book, and great scholars have contributed much also. And also, this is the time to discuss the non-state actors who are playing a major role. Now you can see in the last 5 years, particularly, and even the last 10 years, an anti-India narratives, very measured and very calculated anti-India narratives have been developed, mainly from the basically from the foreign country, but they have the support base from India. And maybe India is one country having its enemy within the country. If we go in through the social media platform, you will feel that the major enemies of the countries are within, not from outside. Because they are demeaning all the democratic institutions in the country, our judiciary, our constitution, our electoral process, And also, definitely we can expect criticism on the government and Prime Minister. There's no problem on that. But here the threat is coming not to the government, but to demean our credibility, our national identity, our constitution, being a largest democracy in the world. Now you can see some of the agencies came with our rating of Indian democracy, Indian freedom, Indian press freedom, etc., etc. And even, but at the same time, you never find that this kind of rating to China or neighboring country having their claim of people democracy, being the largest democracy of India, and also you can see a large number of debate is going on that this is the last election India going to face, and our democracy is and the constitution is going to end with this election like that. These kind of narratives normally within the political field is okay, but it is coming from the international agent, quoting some international agencies, and I am not elaborating for that. Anyway, I congratulate the Indian Research Scholars Association for initiating this program, and also initiating a discussion on non-traditional security concerns of India. And definitely we should discuss the non-state actors who are playing a major role. And we are facing from the threat from the state actors as well as the non-state actors. And I think that being as a chair, I am not taking much time. And please go forward with the program. Vikas Kumar.
Okay. So I would like to request to Professor Chintamani Mahapatra, sir. Sir, you're most welcome, and we are enthusiastic for want to listen for your chief guest address. Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, sir.
Okay. I'll switch up my video so that my voice will be clearer because of the network problem. Let me at the outset thank Vikas ji profusely for inviting me to this book discussion program. And let me also congratulate the Indian Research Scholar Association for picking up a right book to discuss at the right time, the non-traditional security threat. Students and teachers and the researchers and the commentators on foreign policy issues, by and large, focus on the traditional security concerns like the wars, as Dr. Jayaprasad was saying that we fought 4 wars, right? So these traditional wars always hit the headlines, but the non-traditional security issues are all pervading. Everywhere they are there. Once in a while they would hit the headlines, but there are many things that the undercurrent is there, but people are not aware of it. So that's why this particular book focused on the non-traditional security concerns of India, edited by 2 good scholars, both Professor Santosh Singh and Sri Prakash ji, and the number of contributors, over 14 of them, there are 14 chapters. Most of the non-traditional security concerns, which are generally debated and written upon by the scholars, are part of these 14 chapters. Terrorism, energy security, food security, water security, human security, most of the issues are covered there. And I'm sure the speakers are going to speak on some of those issues in this particular forum. However, I personally would like to highlight a few food for thought, both for the scholars who have written their chapters on this topic, as well as for their future research, because this is really important in my view. Let me say a few things which may or may not be part of this book. I'm always proud of India and India's achievements in almost 75 years or 76 years of its independence. I'm fond of sharing my idea that when I was going to school, I was getting milk powder which came from the United States because we did not have sufficient food in India. And today we feel very proud when you know that India is one of the largest producers of milk in the world. The same applies to many food grains and the livestock production. India's position is really great. But the other side of the story is equally heartrending. When we read that in the Global Hunger Index, India's rank is 111, that's 111 out of 125. It indicates that we have a long way to go, and hunger is a human security concern. Now, according to the United Nations, there are about 195 million people in India who are undernourished even today. And in fact, roughly 43% of children in India are chronically undernourished. What does it mean? It means, although we have had the Green Revolution and we are proud of our food grains, and India also contributes to the food security internationally, as and when there is a war and there is a shortage of food, India helps the international market. But the problem remains in India, and we have to look at it more deeply. So let us understand that poverty is a very big non-traditional security threat. And in the future, when we do research, we can talk about poverty by fits and starts selectively in some chapters on unemployment and economy and trade, etc., etc. But poverty as an issue should be focused as a non-traditional security threat. Likewise, we all know that India has about 18% of the global population, but it has only 4% of the water resources. So there is a chapter on water security in India, which is very important, and we must discuss this. 163 million Indians, according to some data, do not have access to safe drinking water. And this is a major concern. How to meet this challenge is to be discussed, debated, and some kind of way has to be found out by the scholars and the government of India as well. Now, the government is doing a lot of things in order to address both food security as well as the water security in India, and there is no doubt about it. But our problem is huge. There are too many people, too large a country, too much of diversity, and too much of rules, regulations, center and then state, and the federal issues are there. So how best to provide good human security to the Indian citizens by supplying them safe drinking water and adequate amount of food. So most of the children in India which are malnourished should not be malnourished. That should be our goal. Likewise, pollution. Everybody knows that pollution is a big problem. But it really pains me when I read data that out of the 30 big cities in the world having worst air pollution, 21 of them are in India, including the capital of India where I live. The air quality is not good. And in addressing the air quality, we cannot put all the blames on the government. We have to do our own contribution to fight pollution. And this is a very huge non-traditional security threat because pollution is a very slow killer like many other diseases. There is a chapter in the book, very welcome chapter on health. Now, until the pandemic hit the globe, health was never considered a very big security issue. But the way the COVID-19 pandemic affected the world, almost every family everywhere in the world had somebody who either died or who suffered tremendously because of the COVID-19 pandemic. I remember about 1 billion people in the world, 1 billion students in the world could not attend their classes in the schools and colleges and the universities. What a big loss for several years, the loss of education. It is because of the pandemic. the major health issues. And that particular chapter is welcome. But at the same time, I would like to draw the attention of the scholars who are present here and who would like to work further on non-traditional security issues. They have to focus on mental health as well, which is a very big problem in India. Now, we don't have even one doctor per 1,000 people. Now, when the WHO would say that one doctor for 1,000 people is okay, that may be okay in Singapore or in UK or USA because of their facilities which are available. But in a country like India, where millions of people are living in distant villages or in the mountainous region, 0.9 doctor per 1,000 people is just nothing. It's a major problem. And when I add the access to mental health, the situation is much, much worse. There are many data about the number of people who are committing suicide in India on a daily basis. And believe me, that this suicide, which hits the headlines, is about the farmer suicide. But the studies have been made and the data is out. There you'll be surprised that in 2022, about 45,194 people who committed suicide, they were the labor class. And then you had the housewives. They were about 25,000. Then you have self-employed people, roughly about 20,000. And again, it pains me to say that the number of students who committed suicide, according to the data, is about 15,000. That means more than 1,000 students dying every month. So all these problems are not just because of the economic condition. Mental health is an issue where people suffer because of the stress, because of the anxiety disorder, because of fear, because of uncertainty. And how to address the mental health issues is the key. Now, when you come down to the schools, the same problem. There are many children who are bullied in the school and they can't open their mouth and go and complain to the teachers. There are many girl students who suffer different kind of harassment and they are not able to come and really report. And the unreported cases of people who have mental health is so huge. The reported cases move into thousands and thousands, but unreported cases are many times more. There is a stigma attached to that. So as a researcher, as people who are concerned with the non-traditional security threat, I'm sure someday some scholar would give more focus on mental health also as a security issue. As a teacher who spent my entire career in teaching and doing research and helping people who are doing research and guiding MPhil and PhD, this is my another point. On this, I have written about it already. I have spoken in quite a few seminars, but I would like to address all of you. And that is, in my view, even education should be securitized. You know, the amount of money the government spend on education is minuscule. We can have the new education policy, but for implementing the new education policy, sufficient resources are also required. And the attention has to be given to education because it is only through education that we can generate more innovation, more jobs, more skill, and without proper education, you cannot have sufficient amount of even economic growth beyond a point. So the education sector needs more and more attention. But when I say that this is a security issue, it is not just because of the simple reason that without education we cannot have economic growth, but also because in this globalized world, when you have access to YouTube and internet and all kinds of information and misinformation and disinformation, we have to be aware of all these, how all these information are sinking into the heads of the Indian students and Indian people. I think Dr. Jayaprasad made a very, very interesting, very, very important remark in his initial statements when he said that apparently there is a growing anti-Indian narrative. I myself have written about it in the newspapers. Some report would come from some American agency about religious freedom in India, and the Panoon case, for example, the murder of Nijar. There is an attempt to paint India in such a way that the largest democracy would look like as if democracy is backsliding in India. What is happening in the United States? What is happening in the UK? They don't talk about it. They don't talk about it. So this narrative has to be countered through proper information, data, and analysis as well. Otherwise, it will pollute the minds of the young people. The Institute of Research Scholar Association should think very seriously about this also. And then let me also give a footnote about the recent phenomenon known as Confucius Institutes, which were funded by China in a big way. And that was, in a way, a kind of Trojan horse, in the sense that the foreign funding agencies would come and preach certain kind of idea, which will promote their interest. In the USA, very many universities were asked by the FBI and even the law enforcement agencies to close down the Confucius Institutes. So the narratives are built in other countries through funding. So one has to be really careful. So education should not be left to the parliamentarians just to, share some money in the budget for education. It has to be seen strategically. And then finally, I would say that right now we have the social media, a media which cannot be controlled by any government. And social media is good in the sense that it can make each and every individual an educator or as a newsmaker, but it is also misused in a big way. I'm sure the chapter on cybercrime or cybersecurity would have dealt with this. But unless we are able to handle even social media, there could be chaos. And those chaos may not be seen on the streets of India, but it will be there running riots in the minds of the people. So that has to be maintained, that has to be taken care of. And then in addition, when I say artificial intelligence, it is going to create other kinds of non-traditional security threats in times to come. Believe me, technology always helps, but no technology is single use. Every technology has dual use or multiple use. It can be used, it can be misused, it can be abused. So AI is facilitating life for many, many companies, even to the education sector. But it has to be regulated. Otherwise, this threat will go beyond hand. When social media was launched, no government anywhere in the world, including the United States, thought about regulating social media. Now it is too late, and you can't do it, right? But artificial intelligence is just picking up. This is the time when the scholars should draw the attention of the policymakers that we need to have proper regulation of AI so it is not misused, it is not abused. I'll conclude by saying that companies and the leaders who were responsible for AI have been saying repeatedly that please regulate it, because they know that this non-traditional security threat would bite each and every individual in the world much more than the missiles and the bombs which are being made and stored. So we have to be really careful. And in the end, I would like to congratulate the editors and also thank Vikasji and IRSA for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Namaskar.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
I hope that sir will be present in the whole session.
I'll stay for some time. I have a meeting, but I'll stay for some time. Yes.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So I would like to invite our next learned speaker, panelist, to Professor Manish sir, Dean of the International Studies Center in Central Universities, Gujarat. So, sir, you are most welcome. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vikasji. I hope I am audible.
Sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Indeed, there is no power at my end, so I'll prefer. Actually, my laptop is on battery, so I'll prefer not to open my cameras. Right.
Ji, sir, ji, sir.
So Honorable Professor Chintamani Mahapatra ji, Professor Jayaprasad ji, Professor Sondhi, Professor Sudhir. I can also see Professor Saroj Kumar, Vikas ji, and his entire team, and all the participants who have joined. I think it's a very interesting book in the sense that the focus of this book is purely on the non-traditional aspects of security. When we look at the book, apart from the introduction, it has, I think, 4 parts, which deals with the emerging threats to terrorism. When it comes to terrorism also, they are further bifurcated. It is starting from the global terror to bioterror to cyber terror, and subsequently the book moves to part 2, which is exploring the human security dimension, the public health system, human trafficking, which is equally important, considering the South Asian context where India and Nepal have been involved in sort of a human trafficking. Then the food security aspect. As the book moves to part 3, it talks about the advancing economic and maritime security. It talks about agriculture, India's maritime security, water security, which is equally important. And obviously, then the book, as in the part 4, discusses the securitization of climate issues, energy, which is again important, and then the last chapter actually talks in terms of the evolving dynamics at 3 levels, which is the national, regional, and the global security. So in that sense, I think the book on non-traditional aspects of security is completely covered. It has broadly most of the key areas which are actually debated today as part of the non-traditional. Now, why not non-traditional? Please understand this. I think in the preceding centuries, I think the gravest threat was to nation state. But as we see the emergence of a lot of non-state actors, to mention the terror networks, the drug cartels, the maritime piracy networks, very important, right? The demographic changes, the shrinking of population, the aging population, the global power shift, and in the post-COVID, I think health and food security actually become very, very important. So I think the most important driving factors, first is the rise of non-state actors, as I mentioned. Then I think one aspect which I think we cannot completely ignore is the civil war and the regime change which we have witnessed in the post-World War II phase. Right. It indeed saw a sort of a strengthening of United Nations, the formation of what Robert Jervis actually defines the pluralistic security community, a term which was actually initially coined by Karl Deutsch, comprising of the group of nations who fought the previous world wars, the US, EU, Japan, amongst whom the breakout of interstate wars was unimaginable. So I think this civil war and regime change again was one of the major drivers. Then, as Barry Buzan and many others also spoke about the environmental degradation, that's how this whole idea of securitization actually broadened to include economic environmental security. And today, as we speak, I think cyber conflicts are also gradually getting intertwined with the national security discourses. Now, interestingly, cyber is one of the mediums, right? So whether we talk in terms of terror, I think terrorists also use the cyber networks, right, uh, uh, to communicate. Indeed, very interestingly, 9/11. When we talk of 9/11, I think there is a whole body of literature today wherein most of the communication was on cyber platforms, right? So I think cyber then becomes very, very important. Bioterror, we have already spoken about bioterror, but post-COVID, we need to recognize that how important this threat could be. I mean, we saw a sort of a natural disaster, but to be honest, I'm still not sure whether it was a natural virus or a virus which comes from one of the labs of Wuhan. So I'm not actually sure on this, right? The nature of the Chinese state is such that even today, there has been no independent inquiry to investigate whether it was a natural virus emerging out of one of the wet markets of Wuhan. So we can easily imagine how deadly this bioterror can be. I mean, gradually we also see the health security, the distress which the world has witnessed during the COVID and also post-COVID. Even today we are debating on health-related issues which actually flow out of COVID. So I think health is also getting important as part of a non-traditional security concerns. Let me also bring out this point that in one of the reports of Pentagon, indeed Pentagon has clearly highlighted that health to be a conventional security rather than a non-conventional security. So you can imagine how important this entire health issue is going to be now. Energy transitions, we all know the world is moving ahead with climate distress. I think energy also is going to be very, very important because of the scarcity of energy. People are moving from towards cleaner energy. Cleaner energy means there is now a focus on, say, non-conventional energy resources as well. Indeed, in one of the very important articles which was published as to how China is now eyeing at Afghanistan in terms of its rare earth, which are very important for Chinese non-conventional energy resources and also for its space technology. So I think all of it taken together, right, comprise of what we today call the non-traditional security aspects. And I think in this book, I think the editors have very, very rightly and very comprehensively brought out all 14 chapters dealing with all the major aspects of it. This is not to say that the traditional security threats have absolutely no role. I mean, it's not neither to undermine the traditional security threats, but apart from the traditional, right, you also have, say, the non-traditional. There are areas wherein you see a sort of a blend, like when we talk in terms of terror, right, in a South Asian context, whether be it coming from Lashkar or Jaish. But see, please understand, Lashkar and Jaish were not non-state actors per se. They were actors backed by a state agency. So this is a third dimension of a threat which is also emerging. And one of the challenges which India had to face is how should India respond to threats which are coming from non-state entities backed by a state entities, right? Indeed, it's a very interesting case because post 9/11, the threat was from Al Qaeda, but the brunt of the bombings was faced by the people of Afghanistan. So I think that was the US state response to a non-traditional security threat. I think so. I'm not saying that there are clear-cut distinctions between traditional and the non-traditional, right? But yes, non-traditional aspects are now taking a sort of a newer dimension. And I think as scholars and students of international relations, I think we should be able to understand as to how these non-traditional areas get securitized in this realm and how important they become along with your traditional security concerns. I think I'll stop here. I'm very happy if to be part of the discussions. Yeah, thank you.
थैंक यू सो मच सर. हम आपको सुनना और अधिक चाहते थे. This is the second lecture of the Manish sir in our association. So our next panelist, Professor Indrajit Sodhi sir. Sir is professor in the Political Science Department, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. So I would like to request to Sodhi sir. Sir, you are most welcome, sir. Thank you. Over to you, Sodhi sir. Okay.
Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
आवाज आ रही है? एक मिनट. Okay. I am very much thankful to Vikas Kumar to organize a series of lecture sometime and book review, because if we talk about in context of research scholar who are a budding young chap of India, and some of them or most of them could be thinking of joining teaching. For them, it could be a good lesson and they can interact with all the good academicians like Professor Chintamani, Mahapatra, Professor K. Jayaprasad, and now Professor Manish ji. So when we talk about the book, is Non-Traditional National Security of India. So recently few years, if we observe, few universities in India, particularly if we talk about Central University of Gujarat, Jawaharlal University, Central University of Jammu, Punjab University, Chandigarh, even some state university like I belong to Rajasthan, Jaipur, in Jodhpur, Sardar Patel University of Police Security and Criminal Justice. They have set up directly or indirectly the Center or the Department of National Security. So this book is very much important if we talk about for those center and department, but as well as throughout the world, security for their nation is very important. And some nation, we already know, Russia and Israel since a long time, even school time or college time, every student have to be for 1 or 2 years, they have to join military as there. So I believe in the future also such type of practices may emerge in India. So when I talk about the editors of these books, two editor, Professor Shantesh Kumar Singh ji and Professor Shri Prakash Singh. So with Professor Shantesh Singh, I have a long relation. So I met him first time around, I think 10 years before during a conference in Delhi.
Yes.
So he was also in a struggling phase. I was also, he was working in a college. I was also working in college in Jaipur. So we both were thinking how we will enter in the university proper system. But Professor Santesh continuously were publishing some articles, some books. And we know nowadays where he is in JNU. Earlier he was in Central Institute of Haryana. So through, I believe, continuous efforts and publication, academic work, a time comes when we make our position, everyone realizes. So proper recognition and achievement. So when we talk about the non-traditional national security, as Professor Chintamani also discussed, and if we see that this book have 14 chapters, except the first chapter, that is introduction, Other all 13 chapters have been divided into 4 groups. So all the 13 chapters are looking on, we could say, practical or empirical aspect. Otherwise, if we look, that means national security, if we see what are the theoretical background, so mostly it is believed that national security or non-traditional national security is based on the theories or concept of realism, liberalism, constructivism. These are the 3 main theories on which we could say that any national security concept is based on. But here, rather than theory, focus is on practical aspect. No doubt in the first chapter, both Professor Shantesh Singh and Professor Shri Prakash, I am quoting one sentence from their first chapter, in which they are talk about, inverted comma, with the advent of better economic policies and diplomacy emphasizing realism. So here they talk about the word realism, that is theoretical. Economical realism, that means emphasizing it is not geopolitical contained in South Asia and is expected to play a dominant role with the global players as well as in the Indo-Pacific. In the 5th chapter also, there is two writer, Shubh Kirti and Abhishek Kumar. They also talk about the concept of constructivism, another theoretical concept. But otherwise, all chapters are based on empirical. Particularly, there are chapters or issues relating on bioterrorism. And if you see bioterrorism, since last 10 to 15 years has emerged a very challenging issue throughout the world. So rather than, we could say, fighting one-to-one or through weapons or we could say missile or any other weapon, bioterrorism is most dangerous because bioterrorism is related with virus, bacteria, or other categories of bioweapon. So some thinker also believe that Corona was also like a bioterrorism. So still we could not say until unless some good research study comes. So cyber threat or cyber terrorism has emerged another, for which also there was a chapter in this. And if we talk about Professor Shantesh, he himself has written one chapter also on health threat in India. As I know, when I met him early, long back, at that time. So Professor Shantesh, we know very much that he has done postdoctoral fellowship on health from Malaysia, United Nations University. So I believe in the future, Professor Shantesh could bring out another good book on health threat or health terrorism in India, if we talk about. And Jawaharlal University, very much, it has set up in 2018 one special center, if we talk about national security, in which for the PhD coursework, there is one paper, the title is Non-Traditional Security Studies of India, 7th paper. So that is very much on the same like as the title of the book, which has been edited by Professor Shantesh Singh and Professor Shri Prakash Singh ji. As I mentioned, cyber threat and bioterrorism health are becoming even the human trafficking. Earlier there was human trafficking only for the sexual harassment of the girls, but nowadays boys also, as well as human trafficking has increased for the organ transplant. So in the future, I believe that this could be a major threat to throughout the world, particularly those poor country, backward country. So it is a very big challenging issue how to cope up with that. So all the international organizations as well as national agencies have to look into how we can look into this issue. If you talk about food security, that is also one of the chapter. So food security is very much being affected by climate change. Recently, we have observed that in Dubai there was a flood. No one could expect that there could be a flood. Similarly, since 2017, in Jodhpur, earlier there was a drought. Continuously 2017, 18, 19, there was a flood. So some parts or most part of what are being affected by climate change, and climate change will definitely affect the food security also. And for India, which is a very big nation in context of population, we have to think over because it could be a very big threat to national security in the future. And if we talk about maritime threat, recently we have seen some cases of capture of our ships by particularly Somalia. I remember in the school time, child, we used to read some story books. At that time, हम लुटेरे, समुद्री लुटेरे पर किताबें पढ़ते थे. Or some many movies Hollywood have been, you could say, have come out. and it has become a very good business by those who are indulged in such practice, because whenever oil ship is going or any big ship is going on, there is no security. They do not keep any weapons because sometimes that could damage their own ship also. So that's why they are dependent upon the mercy of the god whenever any ship is captured. And recently we have observed the Indian Coast Guard, Indian military, they have helped to release a number of ships as well as the prisoners captured by the Somalian and other dacoits. Particularly Pakistani people were released, and Iranian as well as Indian. So Indian Coast Guard has played very important role. And India, there is one national maritime university since a long time, that is in Chennai. And recently, few years back, also in Gujarat Maritime University, another maritime university has been set up. So full-fledged two university maritime that is looking on. So in the future, there could be good career option, particularly those who want to make career, I believe. So that is also a big issue if we talk about maritime. And if we talk about water security, that is related with environment also. That is one chapter also in that book. And recently, there was a big news in Bangalore what has happened regarding water issues. And similarly, in Noida, Greater Noida, also in some colonies, some sector that has emerged. India is having it around, and that as per the reports, around 18% population of the world, but that is water, drinkable water is only 4%. So very pathetic condition if we talk about clean drinking water. Regarding that, we have to look into that issue also. So I believe these are the few issues for which we could say we have to look into how we can think over to tackle all these issues. So I'm very much happy today I could see Professor Chintamani. Earlier I have seen a number of times in Rajasthan University. Basically, I belong to Jaipur. He has come many times during conferences as well as PhD via voice. So I thank you to Vikas and all his team. He who has taken good initiative. Thank you so much, Vikas.
Thank you. Manorma ji.
Thank you so much, sir. Indrajit Singh Sodhi, sir. I'm also from the same Department of Political Science, Jamia Millia Islamia. So I've seen you there many a times. Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening us with your review on the book. Now I would like to invite Dr. Sudhir Singh Verma, sir. He is an assistant professor in the Department of South and Central Asian Studies, Central Punjab University. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, sir. Professor Chintamani Mahapatra, sir. Professor Manish, sir, and Professor Hendrik. Thank you to Vikas Kumar for inviting me. I'm sorry because I am assigned two duties in election. I am a presiding officer as well as a counting supervisor, so I am running today for the training for the elections. Because insisted me that I speak just 5 minutes, then I said, okay, then I will try to join. I am also a contributing author of this book. I have written as a secretization of climate change. I am working on climate change since 10 years, exploring several dimensions. People think about climate change as a problem. It is more than the problem. Basically, it is as a multiplier of other problems. So we can consider the climate change as a problem, but it is more than that. Recently, that's another time that writing about change and human security related to health. So in this book, I have explored how this climate is securitized by the security actors, securitizing actors. Particularly, I have seen a chapter that how this climate change framed. Particularly, we have to understand people start considering any issue as a issue to need to be addressed when that poses existential, and that only can be possible the secretizing actors make realize that a security threat which poses an existential threat. And see that now we are facing intense heat, and if you are reading newspaper articles, this is related to the climate change. And what we have to do, we have to plant a tree. Why we are thinking to plant a tree? Because plant works as a recycling, as sink in an environment. Recycling, that is carbon into oxygen. So if you see in this climate change, who is a demon? Carbon. Carbon is a demon. We have to regulate the carbon. So many books are also published as a carbon economics, carbon politics, understanding the earth. So here basically I have explored about that how the newspapers and secretizing actors, they are framing climate change, natural disaster events and climate change issues. So if you are reading my chapter, I explore that theoretically as well as that giving empirical evidences in that Bihar, Odisha, 1966, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, 1966. These are basically by drought cases. So this book is very important for a non-traditional. Now my voice is clear. I'm audible.
Sir, I think this is a network issue, sir. So no problem, sir. You proceed, please.
Okay, so this book is very important for those who are interested to pursue research in non-traditional security threats. Non-traditional security threats we can see separately as a threat which is given most important in a security discourses. It is as a complement of that traditional security also. So both are important. If we are going for only for a non-traditional and starting ignoring traditional security threats, we are not going for going to the giving the security to the people. So here both are important. And if we see that non-traditional security threat, my view is that if we are considering, we are making is strong in terms of human security, it's giving the happiness to the people. So I recommend that students please read this book. Then so that they can get benefits. It's contributed by the several authors and compiled by the editor. So I will stop here saying that today we have to give value for what is going to futuristic risk which is going to be into threats in the future. So three things we have to consider when we are going to consider of the security concept of security: resilience, then risk, and these four things we have to important keep in consideration. And vulnerability, if we have vulnerable peoples, these peoples are exposing to the threat in future. They have a risk. We have to try to strengthen our resilience by material, by emotional, by culture, and by social trust. That means building a social capital. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sudhi sir, for your valuable insights. Now I would like to invite Professor K. Jayaprasad. He's a professor in the Department of International Relations and Politics, and he's also a former Pro-Vice Chancellor of Central University of Kerala. Over to you, sir.
Any questions or any additions from our participants? Thereafter, we can conclude.
Okay. So now session is open. If any participants want to ask the question, so you can ask directly. Thank you. Anyone have any questions?
Sir, this is Ashwini Kumar. A very good afternoon to everyone, especially to sir. Sir, I'm unable to diversify the difference or the between traditional or non-traditional, because since we have been taught population and environment, insecurity or the concern. फिर आपने इस चीज को ऐसे ट्रेडिशनल और नॉन ट्रेडिशनल में कैसे रखा है? और might be when I will go through the book, so it will be clear, but अभी नहीं समझ पा रहा हूँ सर.
Any other? Our esteemed panelist can answer the concern of Ashwini. Otherwise, shall I give my answer? While we are discussing.
Manish sir will be, yes sir. Manish sir will be answering this question. Manish sir.
जी बताइए. Yeah. To very simply put it, when it comes to traditional security, please understand the traditional security involves the prevention and defense from attacks by organized or say state-controlled armed forces. This is what we say traditional security. Military security, जैसे, right? Military security is supposed to be a sort of a traditional security. Now, when it comes to non-traditional security, non-traditional encompass a sort of a wide range of threats, right, to national and human security. After all, see, when it comes to climate degradation, whether be in Bangladesh or India, right, it concerns all of us as humans rather than specific to one particular state, right? So many of these threats, take the case of COVID, the virus emerges from one particular country, right? But rest of the world also is part of it. Now, so I think these are the threats which are deemed to be what you say non-traditional security threats. So the military security in a conventional sense is believed as traditional security, right? The rest of is what you say non-traditional security. Security threats may economic. It started with the definition economic, then environmental. Please read Barry Buzan's book, right, on this as to how the entire notion of security was broadened to include. Then came the Human Development Report, which further broadened this non-traditional aspect, including issues related to food and other. So I think there has been broadening of this debate, but in a very simple word, threat to state from a conventional military is what you call traditional. The rest falls under the non-traditional. I am putting it very simplistically. Right? Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Any other question or clarification? I think that Sandesh Kumar is there. Any comments from your side?
No, sir. Thank you so much. Actually, I enjoyed listening the entire discussion. I'm happy to hear you all actually in this very important discussion actually, and I'm extremely sorry because Vikas approached me to participate in this very important session, but I thought I should listen others' perspective on the book, which I heard today in this really very important session. And why I picked this topic and why I worked on this topic, because I have been working in basically global health issues since very long time. So I thought, why can't I keep security in that discourse of public health, how public health is being associated with national security discourse, which has been ignored for a longer time. And not only public health, other aspects are also being ignored for a longer time by political scientists and experts who are working basically in national security issues and aspects. So in that way I tried to keep all the important issues which have never got their attention of experts basically who have worked basically on national security. As Professor Manish sir already mentioned, like earlier we were very much used to know traditional issues as national security issues, but now the time has come. Now we have to include other issues as equally important, which plays equally important role in defining national security or threatening national security concept basically. So we have to go beyond that definition of basically conventional definition of national security, and now we have to incorporate other aspect within it. And believe me that there is not too far when we're going to have all the issues as security issues, not traditional, not non-traditional. This separation is still in itself basically a questionable separation, and that should be finished. So in that way, we have to redefine, we have to restructure the entire discourse of national security by including basically traditional issues and non-traditional issues within it. So in that context, definitely in the days to come, when we are going to write book on national security, we're going to write on both issues, like which have been considered as traditional, which have not been considered as traditional too. So in that way, the definition needs to be revisited and redefined, and a lot of people, a lot of experts have already started doing work in that direction. And with these, I would say, like, definitely whatever perspectives we got, that is so true, and so that is what we have to go ahead with. That basically, we can't say this is the ultimate thing and this is something full stop basically. Beyond this is a point where we start working with basically. We can't say this is the final stage, this is the ultimate book, after this we're not going to get other books. This is just a beginning. So we have to work in non-traditional security issues so that we scholars, the authors, the contributors should go beyond the definitions which we have, or we are having basically a number of books on traditional issues, but the available books on non-traditional security is very least. So why that is happening? That is the question. And why the definition is so much limited with the traditional definition of national security? That should be redefined. So in that way, this discussion is very, very nice. And I believe in the days to come, we are going to have more books on such themes. And definitely, my friend, Professor Sondri has mentioned that I'm going to come up with a book on health issues. And I assure him that I have already signed agreement with Palgrave Macmillan on 2 different books. One is on basically India-Afghanistan relations, which is going to publish very soon by the end of this year. And there's another project I'm working is on health resilience. So in that way, in the days to come, we're going to have more books on non-traditional security from to write to come up with basically such themes. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Okay, I think that we can conclude. Any other suggestions, or otherwise we can from the
Sir, one question from the Rifat Abussum, sir. Rifat Abussum want to ask something, sir.
Yes, please.
If you allow. Yes, Rifat.
Yes, please.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, thank you so much, sir, for the brilliant book that we have seen. And thank you very much, sir, for enlightening us with the non-traditional security issues and challenges that India is facing right now. Sir, I am Rifat Abassum, a research scholar in the Department of Political Science, Aligarh Muslim University. Sir, my question with you is, sir, do you think that human security and global governance are interrelated? And if they are interrelated, so sir, what aspects do you think that global governance will global governance is enough to assure human security? Because these days, as we are seeing so much of war and other kinds of crimes, so there is a threat to human security a lot. Sir, I just want to know about the intersectionality of global governance with human security. Sir, kindly highlight your views. Kindly enlighten us with your views on this.
The global governance and whether it is national security or the non-traditional security, in the current scenario, it is interrelated. There is no doubt about it. And also you can see, as far as India is concerned, we are now capable of our defense forces are capable to take any threat from anywhere in the world. We are the now the third largest military, and we are the fifth largest economy. And also we have such a manpower we have, especially from the technical point of view. And so that we can take any challenges or any traditional challenges from the defense point of view, we can take easily. But at the same time, non-traditional security concerns are concerned. We are facing a large number of problems. The authors in this book have contributed much on that. Already these issues were discussed by the Chintamani Mahapatra and Professor Manish and Indrajit Sodhi and Sudhir Singh, etc. They have given their comments on that, because being a country, and India is a country having 1,000 years of colonial enslavement, and after independence, 75 years of our independence, now we have achieved much, and a large in different sectors, sector-wise, if we look into, we have much achieved in different areas, but there are a large number of issues. At the same time, we grown with democracy. Unlike our neighboring China, India grown with democracy. All the differences, all the issues, and all the policy formulations were discussed, criticized, and questioned from different circles, and it is allowed in the Indian system. So that even with this freedom and democracy, and we have grown. That is one of the major strength of India. Unlike China, the major strength of India is that we are a country grown with democracy. But at the same time, we are facing a large number of problems, but it is not social, or you cannot say that it is only mere social or economic problems, but these problems are related with the security. Security, here, our authors have given the title that is non-traditional. Non-traditional means that these issues are the major concern. This is a part of our national security. No nation can move forward without resolving these kind of non-traditional security issues. And so that much concern, much trust should be given to these kind of issues, including the emotional identity, emotional unity of the country. So that since we have a democratic polity, having a parliamentary system of governance, frequent elections, and every 5 years we are facing 3 elections, local, and state level and national level. So that these kind of articulations and political differences will be much articulated in our political system. And we are having a multi-party system, regional and linguistics, and many other differences are a typical society we have. So that these non-traditional issues are basically the issues of national concern and national security. So that The authors have given a perfect introduction that they have initiated a discussion to the academic community that traditional security issues are much debated. You can see a large number of publications in this regard. But non-traditional issues were discussed from the different social and economic and political point of view, not from the security point of view. Now this is the time to have a discussion of these kind of non-traditional issues linked with the national security, because our threat is not mainly coming from the state actors. The major threat India is facing is coming from the non-state actors. Non-state actors are working in this non-traditional area. So that while discussing the national security of the country, on the one side we have to discuss the traditional security concerns and also along with the non-traditional security concerns. Definitely, these issues are generally we discussed in political science or economics with social economic issues. But now the authors have linked it with the security, national security, along with the traditional security. What we have from the political science point of view, we have an understanding on the national security or the defense security, what we have. And I think that we can conclude this program. Once again, I express my sincere gratitude to the Indian Research Scholars Association and Vikas for initiating this program. And it's very good live program. And as far as young scholars are concerned, it will be much beneficial to your future work also. I hope that you will regularly conduct these kind of programs. My sincere thanks to Indrajit Singh Sodhi sir. He mentioned that he worked in the college and he tried to enter into the university. When I was in the Pro-Vice Chancellor, he has been selected to my university. But unfortunately, he not joined and he left to the Chennai. So that I am remembering that I expected his presence in my Central University of Kerala. Okay. So thank you, sir. Thank you, Vikas. Thank you, all the panelists. Okay. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So, with the permission of chair and chief guest, sir, now we can end the session, sir.
Yes, we can close.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Namaste.